I don't know. I heard that when you come to visit Seattle and you do like a show on the internet, it's best to drink as much alcohol as possible.
Nope, that's not gonna happen. Nope.
Kick this off.
Nope, no, you shouldn't do this.
You're gonna get shit faced.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Can I say shit faced on the thing?
I won't allow any of these things.
Cheers.
I'm very sorry. All right, Wendell. So we're gonna.
How's it going?
It's not like fire.
So this is gonna turn into a shit fest, just like last week with whatever. Who are those other guys? Barnacles and
yeah, that was Jay and Jerry.
I think he's a stormtrooper now, so I'm not sure if he still goes by
Jay's
Jerry.
Two Cents and Barnacles and Nerdgasm. All right. Let me just be straight up here. I have no intention of getting as hammered as Jay did last week, but if you guys want to watch a really interesting show, a lot of fun. It's Tech Talk, and it's on Jay's YouTube channel. Which
How much should they pay you to come on our show and promote their show?
Yeah, that was his whole plan this whole time. He's like, Paul, I'm going to pay your way to go to PAX Prime, and I want you to go on the tech. I want you to pimp Tech Talk.
Well, I guess they're smarter than us. We're not doing the vice versa thing. Damn it.
You need the reciprocation.
Right. There are actually some interesting things happening in the universe, and we're going to discover all those things on this wonderful program that we have for you tonight. First off, let's talk about uTorrent, because uTorrent. So uTorrent has had a bit of a rocky, I guess, past few years. Since they went from version 2 to version 3, they've started bundling with bloatware and all this crap, and then they've developed sort of a rough reputation, even though they're still the most popular torrent application. It's still the most popular torrent application out there. I mean, it's made by the BitTorrent Society or whoever makes the uTorrent client. But
I think uTorrent is owned by BitTorrent.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure if it's the official BitTorrent people. I mean, BitTorrent's a thing. But anyway, so they've been trying to move away from this whole bloatware, model, but they also want to be able to make some money. So their solution has been to make you pay for the software. So let me. I mean, I understand you need to make money to pay your developers, but let me just come back and look at this. Okay, so this is torrenting software. And almost all the torrenting software that I can think of, number one, is free. A lot of people who torrent because they like free things.
That's true.
I mean, I torrent because I use torrent for downloading Linux distros and that sort of thing. There's a lot of legitimate uses for torrenting, but let's face it. We'd all be stupid if we, sat back and were like, nobody does anything illegal with torrenting. No one does it. No one steals any software. Yes, people steal software with torrenting. So what's the first thing that's going to happen here? I'm betting that people are going to start stealing uTorrent. That's what I bet. I mean, you're going to use your old version of uTorrent to download a cracked version of the new uTorrent.
Would that be poetic justice to some degree?
I don't know. There's got to be another way. Is what I'm saying here. Is I don't think uTorrent should go away. And I think most of the smart people are using uTorrent version 2.3 or 2 point something. I'm using an older version of uTorrent, and then it's an Halite, which is another nice program. If you need some BitTorrent alternatives, there are plenty out there. But I don't know. Wendell, how do you think that they could make some money? Maybe just donate a donation system, or how do they stay afloat and pay their developers? Or should they just stop developing it and use version 2?
I'm going to throw Apple under the bus on this one. Because, any opportunity to throw Apple under the bus is great. uTorrent Pro, the problem is not that they charge money. The problem is that they charge $19.95. So Apple, with their App Store, people expect this type of application to be about $5 or less, just because of the App Store, just because of what it is. If this application were $2.50 or $5, I feel like that they would sell a lot more copies than they sell. Now, to be fair, they do have a free version. The pay-for version lets you do things like instant streaming. So we talked about popcorn time last week. So if you want to, you click on a torrent and you want to start streaming that torrent immediately, basically watch while you download, then you got to get the pro version of uTorrent, and that's a thing. But it's $20. And I realize that there are millions of people using this, but this is not a $20 application. It's maybe a $5 application. I feel like if they charge $5, that it would be a lot more reasonable. I would probably pay $5 for it. I'm not going to pay $20 for it.
Yeah, and we got some more pirate news here. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think out there in the audience. Do you think? I mean, basically, just share your alternatives to uTorrent, because I know that's what it's going to turn into. Like everyone's going to be like, I use this program, or this program's better, or your old version of uTorrent, like uTorrent version 2 or point whatever. But is anybody out there going to actually pay $19 for this? And if you are, what do you expect from them, and why would you spend that much money on a simple application to download torrent files?
I feel bad, but
links.
I don't think I would spend $20 on it. I agree with Wendell, like $3, $5, like an app store price, I might drop down, or a donation system. But I feel like people who are being told, in order to use this and to use it properly now without ads or that kind of thing, you're going to have to pay $20. Like you said, you're going to have people going with other alternatives. There's other BitTorrent alternatives, and they're going to lose clientele. So I think they have to be very careful in how they market it and the price they charge.
Oldversion.com, man. Speaking of torrenting things, T-Mobile refuses to block the Pirate Bay, and that's all the headline says. I'm only good for reading headlines. I don't do anything else. So the Australian internet provider, A1, Australian. I haven't even had that much to drink. The Austrian. I did this once before, but I didn't correct myself.
You're only like 1 or 2 letters off. Austrian, Australian. I'm sure the people who live in both of those countries are not offended at all.
Oh, I think people in Austria are going to be feeling
Austria,
mad right now.
Australia. It's practically the same country.
You know, listen to this, Australia. When I was in Austria, the people there said that you were the Florida of the world. How do you like that? Why don't you go? You should fly there and punch them.
That's harsh.
No, I'm just starting
incredibly harsh.
I'm just starting crap. Anyway, so the Austrian ISP, known as A1, was ordered by the Commercial Court of Vienna to block access to the Pirate Bay. So they've been ordered by the courts. So the LSG, which is the local music rights group, kind of like GEMA, those bunch of asshats, and who do we have here in the States? I've forgotten already. RIAA or whatever, MPA, something. RIAA, all those guys. The equivalent, they told T-Mobile, you have to block this too. And T-Mobile actually was like, you know what? No. There's no court order for us to do anything, so we are not going to do anything. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that it requires time, but also there will be some fallout from this. So it's interesting to see that T-Mobile is, standing up, and there's going to be a court order to tell them to do it now too, because now this is in the public eye and people are going to bicker and fight. But I guarantee you in a few days there'll be a court order for T-Mobile to block things. So yeah.
Do you think T-Mobile is just taking the side of the consumer for now because they have not been ordered in writing to do this? Or do you think that they're going to take a stand against this and try to push back? I can't really see T-Mobile being a champion of the Pirate Bay.
No, but I think T-Mobile's trying to be a champion of hey, there should be freedom on the internet and all that kind of thing. And they've sort of been, I don't want to call them a champion or anything like that, but they've been sort of more on the right side. But at the end of the day, they'll do whatever they can without damaging their bottom line. And if they're told to do something and it's going to be a big mess and all that, they'll probably comply if they have to. I don't know if there's any company out there who will put their morals and their their customers above the law and having their bank accounts frozen and all that kind of crap.
But I do think there are companies that tend to align themselves more with the consumer than they do with maybe the other large companies or agencies that are trying to enforce copyright or something like that. And although I am not a T-Mobile customer, I feel like I have a positive view of their company because of actions like this that they've taken in the past.
Yeah, you know what? I will say this: while we travel, we do have access to the internet almost anywhere we go with T-Mobile. I have T-Mobile, and so does Kane. Mm-hmm. And while we were in China, we had access to T-Mobile at a very slow speed, but we still had access to check our mail and that sort of thing. And we could even get onto blocked services like YouTube and Facebook. So that says to me that their agreement is they're not really. I don't think that they are getting around the Great Firewall of China without China's knowledge. I think that they're doing this, and China's like, whatever. All of our traffic was routed back into Chicago. Mm-hmm. Our IP address was in Chicago, so it was sort of like a tunnel into Chicago. But I don't think that China really cares. I think China is blocking all those things to protect their businesses, and they don't care about a few foreign travelers who come there and watch YouTube or something like that before they go to bed. I don't think China cares about that. It's not like they're trying to censor information like everyone thinks they are. They're doing it for different reasons, albeit maybe not good reasons, but that's my take on it. But anyway,
reasons, at least.
But anyway, I think it's cool that T-Mobile has done all of this to help their customers. So Good job, T-Mobile. I'm local. If you guys want to, go out and get like a popsicle or something, you can go out and get a popsicle and walk up and down the boardwalk. Look at the Space Needle.
I love popsicles.
They're delicious. I like creamsicles even better. They're delicious. I haven't had one of those since I was a wee lad.
Like a 50-50 or something like that.
No sex jokes. All right. Let's talk about this police drone stuff in North Dakota. So now, this is a very interesting article. Now, non-lethal drones are legal because the reason that they're legal, Paul, I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so I read over this article, and the weird thing about this is that so the legislation that this article is talking about was originally introduced in order to prevent police officers and authorities from using drones for their own devious devices or whatever,
like lethal purposes, right?
But then some lobbying groups broke in there and they looked at it and they're like, hey, this bill you're introducing actually is not just saying you can't use drones; it's saying you can't use lethal drones. So maybe we could sort of like pop a little extra little rider on there, like they like to do, and make it so like, well, sure, you can't use drones with guns on them or something that could kill someone, but non-lethal stuff like tasers,
sandbags, whatever,
or whatever, or like a bottle of beer that it smacks you in the head with or something. I don't know what you actually can use. So there's some back and forth with like how this went about and how it came out. And in fact, I believe it's a Republican representative who introduced the bill, who later in the article is interviewed about it, and he's like, yeah, this didn't exactly go the way I wanted it to. So there's that aspect of the story, but then there's also just the aspect of the story of drone usage in general, and how drones might be used for law enforcement. And I don't know, I'm really torn about this. I mean, on the one hand, if you come from a pure law enforcement perspective and you assume that all law enforcement is operating on the side of good, then maybe drones could do some good. But I mean, also the invasiveness, the breach of privacy, and that kind of thing that drones could incorporate as well is also a major concern. But the fact that a drone might just be hovering over your backyard might be a concern to you. The fact that it's hovering there and then might shoot a taser at you might make people a little bit more uncomfortable.
Ammunition manufacturers, drone shot, not bird shot, not buckshot. Drone shot is what you need to be manufacturing.
It's got to be lightweight and lethal.
Yep, and make sure that when you shoot it into the air, when it lands, it like doesn't hurt anybody. So, because everyone's going to be in their backyard in like very populous areas, shooting drones out of the sky. It's going to be an interesting mess. I want the drones to have like loudspeakers and be kind of funny and snarky. I want them to fly around just randomly tasing people and saying like, you got tased, bro. And then they'll fly on to the next guy and just... That's what I want.
So I
don't know why I want that. That's a terrible thing.
I feel terrible to say this, but I think what's going to happen when it comes to drone legislation, and especially when it comes to like federal rules, because FAA is going to have to start enforcing some more rules than what they currently have in place.
The rules are weird right now.
The rules are weird. They seem not enforced universally, and I feel like there's going to have to be some sort of tragedy to push people to like, hey, we need to do something about this, which really sucks.
And tragedies in other countries do not count.
Apparently not.
No, because I mean, if we look at the track record, I don't even think any. I mean, if you go out to like a mall and ask somebody, hey, has anyone ever been killed by a drone? They'll be like, I don't think so. What's a drone? I mean, that's what's going to happen here in America, which is kind of sad. People, I did find that when I met most of the people in Europe, they knew more about American politics than I did, and more about American policies than I did. And I was like, wow. And they were like, what do they tell you on? They're like, what does your news channel talk about? I'm like, Kim Kardashian's buttocks.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What else is there to know?
Like, that is it. We know about that. And someone was pregnant, and they, who cares? But that's pretty much all what our stuff is on the TV. What am I can't even speak anymore. My brain went to the stupid because I started talking about the stupid.
It immediately sends like your IQ down at least 20 or 30 points, so it becomes more difficult to form like complete sentences.
I don't know, Wendell. What do you reckon about this drone stuff? Where do you think we're headed?
Well, the only thing that you guys left out of the conversation is that we've got a real problem with drug mules coming across the Canadian border from Winnipeg. It's a real problem, and these drones should really help with those problems so that, when we've got the drug mules coming across the Canadian border from Winnipeg, that, they've got the pepper spray on board or whatever. So, they come in droves, 12, 15 at a time. And so this thing should be able to do an area dispersal of pepper spray to take care of that problem in North Dakota. So clearly this is warranted.
For the drugs, or they could just make the drugs legal. I guess that'd be the other option, and not have to worry about it. I guess moving things across borders without paying proper taxes that's the problem here. Yeah.
No, I'm being completely facetious because Canadians and North Dakota. I mean, come on, really? Do we really need armed non-lethal? I mean, well, screw it. Why don't we just put pepper spray or like the pepper spray filled paintballs and predator drones and just launch those and just have those patrol the whole time? I mean, come on, it's the same thing, right? It'll be fine.
That's true. I mean, North Dakota, by statistics, is extremely dangerous. It's the 49th most dangerous state. That's crazy. It's pretty dangerous.
It is dangerously close to Canada, and Canada, as we all know, has been plotting against us for many, many years.
Yeah, they pretend to be complacent and pacifists, but we know what's up, Canada.
Winter is coming.
Not just Canada, Winnipeg. Let's be clear. People in Winnipeg are like, "What is wrong with you guys?"
Next time I'm in town, I'll let you guys buy me a beer. I'm sorry.
The two people in Winnipeg that are watching.
What is it they say about Winnipeg?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Something. They need drones to take them out.
Exactly.
Did you guys ever hear the joke about it being called lose a peg instead of win a peg? Did you hear that joke before? I bet it was funny.
I thought it was a wretched hive of scum and villainy or something to that effect.
All right, let's check out Squarespace. We've built our website with Squarespace. It's been incredibly easy. And the thing I like about Squarespace is the fact that it just puts the content forward and gets out of the way. There's not a lot of bubbly nonsense anywhere. Plenty of templates to choose from, and I know a lot of you guys want total control. There is Get Access. Just take a look at a couple of the different features here. There's the new cover pages. If you just need something, as a splash page or one page, you can use it for that, or you can use it as a cover page for your store or whatever. Really good for musicians. It allows you to integrate Bandcamp, or you can sell your stuff right on here, SoundCloud, whatever you want. It's just a clean, easy to design, website. About $8 a month, depending on your plan and what you guys are doing. And we do have some discount codes for the Tech Syndicate members. Just go to their website and use the promo code TechSyndicate. You can click on the screen and get there just the same. Now back to the regularly scheduled tech. Our shirt of the month. This is your last chance in the history of today. Well, maybe for a while or forever. I don't know. Guys, go buy this because it's the shirt of the month, and the price for what you're getting. Oh my word! Oh my goodness! Look at that artwork. I would wear that and nothing else. There's also the tri-blend version if you like it a little softer with muted colors. Oh God, I feel like Martha Stewart, but I'm not going to jail for tax evasion.
Look, you either buy that shirt and wear it, or wear nothing.
Yeah, that's what we say. That's our motto. You buy the shirt of the month, or you don't wear anything, young man, young woman, young whatever you are. Is that bad? I was talking to animals. I'm just trying to include all the animals, not people who identify as whatever you are.
As long as you're misanthropic and not misogynist, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm a misanthrope. Well, that was the way to end an advertisement for our store. EpicPants.com, y'all. Y'all. Twitter. So, here's what's very interesting. When a politician says something, when a politician does something, it should be public record. It's public knowledge. It needs to be public. When someone that we have hired with our tax dollars to represent us is in office and they say something, we should know about it. Well, there are several different services out there, the main one being the Open State Foundation. Now, they follow lots of politicians, and they keep records of all the tweets that they delete, because a lot of politicians will jump on there and say something stupid like, Mexicans are rapists. So I don't know who would say something terrible like that, but they get on there and they say stupid stuff, and then and then their publicist calls 10 minutes later. It's like 2 a.m. and like, what the you? And they're like, oh, should I delete that? Was that wrong? I thought it was okay because we are light skin and we were allowed to do these things. And like, no, you can't do that, idiot! You racist! And then like, oh, I better delete that. So they go back and delete that. Well, these there's a few different things out there. The Open State Foundation, and there's a few others that have been keeping these tweets, and then news organizations grab them and use them for headlines and be like, well, look what this idiot did. Well, Twitter has been disconnecting their API access so that they can no longer do this. And that's a bit troubling to me that Twitter is actually getting involved. I'm sure there's some pressure from the politicians who are like, listen, I was drunk and I don't even know where I was, and I picked up my phone and said something I thought was pretty good, but apparently it wasn't good.
Politicians shouldn't be held accountable for the things they say.
Yeah, that's really troubling to me.
So
Twitter is blocking their API access now.
The Open State Foundation uses their direct access to the Twitter APIs to automatically monitor a bunch of politicians globally that they basically keep an eye on. And it's specifically looking for deleted tweets, because if you delete something, then it means you're like, oh, I didn't mean to say that, or like, I want to recant, or I want to step back on it. And Twitter has blocked their access to their APIs, which means basically that they've made it more difficult for people to take a look at these things that politicians might have said and then immediately regretted saying. That's my summary of that.
As far as like load on the API goes and like use of the API, that is not really an onerous task for the API. This is purely like, I'll tell you what happened. And if there are any Twitter employees watching, you can let me know if this is correct, but let me sum it up for you. There's a guy in your organization that is like this precious little snowflake, probably never been out of Southern California, probably hasn't seen the world, has no concept of anything, has never picked up a book in his life, certainly has never read 1984, and is like, oh, I just, if you tweet and you can't delete it, that's just too much pressure. That's just too much for people. We need, a platform that we can really use. We really need political support for the platform. And I really just think that it should be okay for you to be able to delete things. Like you should be able to memory hole, something anytime you want, because it's just too much pressure being able to tweet. And I really think this is something that we need, and blah, blah, blah. And, all the programmers and all the developers who actually have probably read a few books in their lifetime were like, well, wait a minute, isn't this a little bit like 1984, where you can, delete all records of you having said something and then deny that you've ever said it? Because we certainly don't already have that problem with politicians. So, yeah, this is really sort of a funny situation, because it's like, wow, really? We're making the memory hole easier? And as dysfunctional as our political climate is already, I mean, it's completely insane. Clearly a decision made by a non-technical person.
We want to know their name. Somebody from Twitter who works there, who maybe is on the more technical side, not the front end. This is probably a front end or a marketing person. We want to know their name.
Just let me know if I got the personality profile right. That's all I want to know.
I want to know. I'm going to call them home.
The
only thing you got wrong with that was you meant to say mid California, not Southern California, because they're in San Francisco. But I'm gonna. You have to stop the neckbeards before the neckbeards get started.
Oh yes.
So we must
well,
quell that now.
They've never really experienced the world. It's like, why would I want to go anywhere else? I'm already here. And it's like, wow, really? Wow, guy, you would say that? Oh my God, why would you?
I've heard that from a lot of different city folk these days, and that used to be the sentiment that I heard in places like backwoods Kentucky. Like, a lot of my family's like, why the hell are you going to other places? Like, when I first went to Vermont, they're like, are you a socialist? You must be a commie now. Like, are you going to be wearing around hammer and sickle or what? Anyway.
How the tables have turned.
But let me ask, have you ever made a statement that you have published on the internet via text or via a video that you have come back to and thought, maybe I shouldn't have said that, maybe I regret it in some way?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time. Now the question here is,
and I take my lumps.
Should that then be completely erased from the past history of existence? Or should you be able to say, no, I posted that and I said that. I now realize that I made a mistake, and I want to say that I don't agree with what I said in the past anymore. And I don't know, for me, that makes a lot more sense, and that at least is a lot more transparent to people.
Yeah, I mean,
versus deleting it from the past and pretending like it never happened.
We're on a hypothetical tangent here, but I like it. I will say that I've changed over the years. You know, my opinions have changed on different things. It's crazy. Politicians also can change, you know, depending on whatever's the most popular thing at the time, usually. But some actually do have changes of the heart. Very, very, very rarely. So when someone like Hillary Clinton comes out...
Usually it's because they get money from somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. But the other thing is, like, with Hillary Clinton recently, she was for gay marriage, but all throughout history, she's always been like, you know, marriage is man and woman, traditional marriage values. And then all of a sudden, she was like, oh, people think the other thing now? I think the other thing because it'll get more votes. So
she's representing her base. There's
a lot of that going on that you have to be careful about. And I think if someone comes out and you can actually, it's very difficult to tell if a politician does have a change of heart. It's very difficult to tell. But back to the original thing here. Have I ever done something like that? Yeah, but usually it's because it started too much trouble and I'm a very strongly opinionated person. And at some point I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with the trouble anymore. I don't need to. There's a million people responding to this thing that I put online and I don't care. And I was like, God, they can't handle the truth. But I usually think, if I say it, I think it's the truth. I mean, whether I'm right or wrong is a different story for a different time. But I will go in and delete it if I'm like, you know what, damn it, these kids are going crazy over this little thing I said. So I'm just going to delete it so I can get back to my work and not have a million notifications.
But if you deleted it, then do you deny it ever happened?
No.
I think that's the main thing here. Like for me, I've deleted comments I've made in the past. I try not to do that when I can. But what I try to do is, like, if I said something in the past, whether it was in the heat of being, you know, feeling passionate about something or, you know, because somebody pissed me off and I was angry or whatever, and I responded in anger, like, I don't want to pretend that never happened. I just want to acknowledge that, hey, I said that in the past, but now I've looked back on it, and through retrospection, I have realized that, you know, maybe I was wrong, or
you're ready to move on. But with politicians, it should be our right to know what they say, even if they said something off color that they didn't really want to say, and they recant the next day. We should still be able to know all these things. It's a telling of their character.
I agree.
All right. Well, that was a little bit of philosophy and all that kind of stuff in there. Let's talk about the NSA. That's always fun. And we're going to travel to... Oh, no.
We're talking about the NSA. I need some more bourbon.
They've been up to no good, and those rascally kids, they would have gotten away with it, too, if it weren't for those... wait, that's us. Not really.
Oh, good. Oh, no. So the NSA, they're worried about the hackers with the supercomputers that's coming in the near future. Not the near future, but they're worried about quantum computing. And here's the funny, ironic thing. They're really worried about the potentials for quantum computers to crack modern encryption. All the while, they've been trying to either make encryption illegal, give themselves backdoors, and all that. So, I mean... how much cake do you want, and how many forks do you need, and are you going to eat it all?
And can you have the cake while you eat it?
Right.
I think is the, yeah.
I don't know. Wendell, I don't know. What do you get out of this?
They probably already have a quantum computer that probably already renders a lot of encryption obsolete, but there are forms of encryption that are still secure, even with quantum encryption. I don't have my encryption hat on right now, but I think AES 256 is one of the ones where until like you read through the mathematics of AES 256, the Applied Cryptography is a really great book, but there's when you get through it and it's like AES 256 works like this, and as far as we know, AES 256 is going to be secure until data is stored with something other than electrons, and computers are made out of something other than matter. We should be okay. And it goes into how it goes into like how doing all of the computations necessary to brute force AES 256 if it is properly implemented, and so the key space, the domain space that you have to search is as large as possible. If it's properly implemented, you will still be doing computations well after the heat death of the universe. Like, it's just not practical at all on a universal scale. Like, literally, awesome. You know, you would have to have all of the matter in the universe to store the computations in order to do that. So that's kind of exciting. Yeah. And so certain types of encryption will survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's seeing as how Jesus is going to be here in just a few more years.
Exactly. So we don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's great.
But scroll down, because Wendell, you mentioned AES 256. Right, the specific encryption types that are mentioned in this article are 3072-bit RSA encryption, advanced encryption standard, which is AES 256-bit, as well as elliptical curve P384. And this is something that I think you have vastly more knowledge than I know I do. So my thought looking at this article was like, all right, so their concern is that people are going to obtain computers that have such massive computational capabilities that they can basically break through these encryption standards via, as you mentioned, such crazy algorithmic breakdowns that, you know, might take until the heat death of the universe. But if computers can advance to such a point where they can actually break down the mathematics that quickly, then might the advancement of our ability to do that type of mathematics with a computer, might it actually surpass the level of encryption that we have available today? Also, I've been drinking bourbon.
That's good though.
That's
pretty good for how much alcohol you've had.
But you got to understand that the encryption, like when we're talking about like RSA encryption is actually vastly more old than most people realize. It really took a long time to come up with the math that was solid. And look at, you know, the first several implementations of AES were wildly insecure. The math in AES was actually very good, but the specific implementations of AES turned out to be astonishingly bad. And so the actual key space that had to be searched to break AES encryption, or early implementations of AES encryption, meant that the encryption was broken in the wild. And certainly that's what we're going through right now with SSL. The last 6 months to a year, SSL encryption, which is what a lot of websites use, and there's a lot of different options for different kinds of SSL, which is good because it's sort of a diverse ecosystem. It's not a monoculture in terms of like how the encryption is done for websites and commerce. That has totally saved our bacon a bunch of times in terms of keeping secure websites secure, because weaknesses have been found in those implementations, or weaknesses have been found in those algorithms. Like for example, SSL 3.0, the standard is broken. It cannot be fixed. The standard is so bad that there's just nothing that you can do. And so quantum computing basically opens up the door for new types of physical operations that can be done that will simplify the amount of math that's necessary to do. And so in like the quantum computing context, AES is affected, but you really only, like with the best performing quantum computer, you really only get into a situation where AES is about half as good as it used to be on traditional computation. So that AES 256 key I was mentioning before would go down to an equivalent of AES 128, which is still kind of an unfeasibly large set of encryption to deal with. But encryption technologies like RSA, which rely on the hardness of integer factorization of very large prime numbers, that encryption will basically be gone, because the quantum computers can find numbers that have those properties really quickly. So that type of encryption will basically be broken overnight, and a lot of RSA and DSA encryption is still used all over the everywhere. There's a lot of old hardware out there. So think like, you know, America just went to chip and pin, and so chip and pin that uses like where RSA enters the equation there. If quantum computing were a thing overnight, then that would totally be a problem. And so, yeah, we've got a plan for quantum computing, and like when that stuff comes about for dealing with it. The problem is that those technologies are not mature, so it's going to be the wild, wild west again for a little while until we get there, if there's a breakthrough overnight. As long as there's not a breakthrough overnight, then we're not really in any really significant danger. But AES 256 for the win everywhere should be good. Just make sure that your keys are sufficiently randomized and, you know, sufficiently well protected, because, you know, who knows, the NSA may have compromised the Intel random number generator, so you don't know if you can trust that even. So there's a lot of fun stuff with this here.
They've got a backdoor.
Well, the elliptic curve, you mentioned the elliptic curve encryption. That's a really interesting one, because the elliptic curve encryption probably is backdoored in a really strange and interesting way. The way, like, in the 80s, without going off on too much of a tangent, in the 80s, Lotus 123 was the spreadsheet program. Lotus 123 was capable of encryption, the standard, the good encryption of the day. You could do 128-bit encryption with Lotus 123, but then countries like Iran and places that we didn't really trust wanted encryption, and companies wanted to sell them software with encryption, and so a compromise was struck. They would get 56-bit encryption, about 8, 6, 4, 6, 8 bits. We don't know. That part is a little bit classified still. But 468 bits of that 56-bit encryption would be known to the NSA, but the general public would not know it. And so that was sort of an interesting way of implementing kind of a backdoor and kind of not, because it's like, well, we're going to give you 56-bit encryption instead of 128-bit encryption, but we're going to know some of the bits in that key. And so it's going to be really easy for us to crack that if we have to. We still have to do a little bit of work. So it's not like we've got this panopticon of surveillance and we're just, everything that you save in Lotus 123 is immediately emailed to the NSA. It's not like that. But if you're being investigated by the NSA, or if the NSA has tapped your network, the encryption is still there, but the encryption is weakened pretty catastrophically. But somebody that didn't have the resources of the NSA would still have a hard time cracking the encryption on that encrypted file. But that's how we did it in the 80s. And then something changed culturally, and we don't talk about that anymore. We don't, companies like Cisco don't talk about the backdoors and the deals that have been struck with intelligence agencies. And so there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's probably a large part of the economic problems in China and America right now. But long story short, yeah, the technology just has to catch up. But for now, I'm going to put all of my eggs in AES 256 and hope for the best.
We could probably make a long expose documentary about some of this sort of thing, especially how the economic impacts of the new way of doing things has impacted the world. The economic impacts have impacted things. Let's just move on to Germany. We're going to move a little bit faster because we got to go pick up Kane very soon from the airport. So, lightning round. Lightning. Oh, that was on the screen.
Sorry. Didn't mean to chew up all the thing.
It's really late there for you.
It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it.
In Germany, right? So Germany, you've got surveillance there, but in order to surveil somebody, you have to go and say, like, hey, we want to watch this bastard. He's doing this and this and this. And then you get permission to watch that person. And then you can, hoover up all their data and do whatever.
That's how Germany's laws
how Germany works, right? So they've been talking to us, and I think we probably do more surveillance in Germany than Germany does in Germany, but we don't talk about that. We were even... they
were kind of upset about that, weren't they?
Yeah, well, after they found out that we were, watching Angela Merkel on her private cell phone. How the hell is she? I don't know how she hasn't freaked out. I mean, she was like, that's about all we got from her. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, okay, now what? You're like, oh, America. They have a lot of bombs.
It seems like further...
That's pretty much it.
For me, it feels like further negotiations were held behind closed doors.
They must have been. Yeah. And this might be part of it. So X-Keyscore is, as revealed by Snowden, it's part of the system that looks through all of this data, that they're hoarding. Someone's going to make a GIF.
Delicious data.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount. And it looks through it, and it basically looks for patterns and looks for things. It just looks through all the data and says, hey, you should watch this stuff. So, thanks to an agreement now, Germany is going to be using X-Keyscore over there. They're going to be using an implementation specifically designed for Germany. Now, okay, that's whatever. If they use it for the people that they are getting permission to surveil, whatever. Now, here's the thing that bothers me. They don't really keep and store as much data as we do, but what if X-Keyscore does the same thing mentally that it's done to the NSA and all the different law enforcement agencies here, where they have to retain everything and then throw all of the data to X-Keyscore so that it can look through everything, and it becomes almost an obsession. What if that starts to happen over there and they start to watch everyone and they're like, listen, we're not really watching everybody as much as we're letting the program look at it and see if they're maybe dissenting, or maybe they're dangerous people, or maybe they're planning a crime or something. But we're not watching them. We wait for X-Keyscore to say, hey, dude over here in seat 38B, he may be a danger. Is it going to make them start doing that? I don't know. I'm getting a bit ahead of everything right now, but potential is there for abuse. So people in Germany, be aware of it. People in Germany, be sure to say something about it. Be sure to get involved and, get in the driver's seat over there and make sure they don't do what's happening here.
So according to this article, people, if you're a citizen of Germany, you need to be on a suspect list in order to be targeted by the software.
I'm sure someone in the comments is going to be like, that's BS. That's just what they say. That's just what they show you.
Probably right.
What's really happening over here is something totally different. And I don't know. I don't have a tinfoil hat from Germany yet. I only have one from the USA and maybe the UK. But if you guys have a German tinfoil hat, send it over. and with maybe an instruction book, because I don't really know. Even though we were over there, a lot of people were correcting us on things. I'd be like, "Oh, this government's great because this," and they'd be like, "Oh, no, 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 we also do this. You do not know, but we are very fastidious in this manner, and we have also sold weapons to bad people." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, terrible." So I don't know.
This story struck me because Germany was one of the countries that seemed most upset by all of the information that Snowden leaked, all of the NSA surveillance and that sort of thing, and particularly when it pertains to like areas outside the United States. And Germany was kind of upset. Like, you're like monitoring our stuff with zero permission and everything.
How they seem, we need like a scale, like how kerfuffled were they versus what did they do? You know what I mean? And in certain countries, they're and I don't know. In certain countries, they're extremely kerfuffled. Yeah, but they don't do anything. Is that even a word?
So in Germany, there's the I can't pronounce this. Bundesamtes BFV. The BFV.
B and D. It's the
Bundesamtes. Yeah. So which
B&D.
is Germany's, and my apologies if I'm incorrect at all here.
No, I think I said it perfectly.
Yeah. But that's like Germany's like CIA. It's like their intelligence agency. They have been working with the U.S. intelligence agency in order to like coordinate this trade for the X-Key Score software in exchange for the NSA.
That's a big part of this. I forgot.
Being able to monitor German activity. But it's also seemed like, according to this article, that people who were in higher positions in the German parliament, or I don't know how German government works, but people who are in higher positions in the actual government structure were unaware of this, and they're like, "What's going on here? I did not know that the BFV was setting up this deal with the NSA and that sort of thing."
BND.
The BND.
It's the BFV from now on, in case you guys are. We
whatever
say
it's called
in America, N and D is F and V, just like BMW is BMV over there. It's just that's the way it is. Okay, yeah, sorry,
it makes perfect sense. The point, the point being though, that it also seems like that this seems to be a global problem. Like the people who are in charge, the people who are elected government officials, have a certain like idea of what's going on, and then the intelligence agencies that are working for the government, under the government, are doing stuff without the people who are in charge of them even knowing what the heck is going on. That seems to be a problem that's on a much wider scale than just like in the US or in Germany in general. And that's why reading this article, I was like, I don't know. It's like, it's the intelligence agency sharing data, and it seems to be done like they wanted this to happen without people knowing about it.
Right.
And that doesn't seem right to me.
Information is power, man.
It is.
And also the controversy. The contrapositive is true as well.
You know what else is
Lack
power?
of information is...
Urban is power.
This is happening. I don't even care anymore. I don't even...
Oh, man, all this information that we're getting, this is just really bad. We got to have more information. We got to get more information. Oh, this is really bad. Do you see all this information? We need more information just to make sure it's really bad. That's all that's happening.
It's a vicious cycle.
All right, Microsoft, Windows 10 is on 75 million devices, and I'm not going to talk about the whole privacy thing. That could be a separate video. So I'm just going to mention they say it's on 75 million devices, and that does not count. That does not. I don't even know. You're drinking and I'm getting drunk. How's that work? I don't know what's going on.
That does feeding it over to you somehow.
It's this thing.
We have an
feeding tube. Right here.
We have an IV going on underneath the table here.
I thought it was this.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
It's ear to ear.
See?
Isn't that like a pop song? Ear to ear, you and me together.
Is it Stevie Wonder?
Could be Stevie Wonder. Because he didn't have use of his eyes, but he could use his ears to share things with people. So ear to ear.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right, nothing was wrong with that statement.
More bourbon?
No, I'm going to drive in a bit.
I'm okay for now.
I mean, you can have it, but if it goes through this tube again,
no, I don't want to get sloppy.
Anyway, they said that was just activations. That does not count like OEMs and that sort of thing selling new computers. So that's a lot.
That's even more impressive.
Like $11 billion of Windows.
Yeah, that they're giving away for free, and then they're wait a second.
Trading only for your personal data, what you might be doing, things you might be asking Cortana, targeted advertisements. And this is a major discussion when it comes to privacy, as well as like convenience and access to information. that we'll save for another episode.
Well, we'll mention this really quick because this has been going back and forth quite a bit. Windows 10 reserves the right to block pirated games and unauthorized hardware. Unauthorized hardware is kind of an alarming thing. What does... Okay, everyone's going crazy about the whole... They may block pirated software. Yeah, that's in their terms of service. They're saying that some people are saying that's only for stuff that's in the App Store, only stuff that's Windows first party, and only stuff that... I don't know, but what does it mean in their terms of service when it says that they might block unauthorized hardware? What does that mean? That's confusing to me. Like, we've decided this motherboard is no longer supported because they didn't give us enough money. I don't think they'll do that. I mean,
I'm guessing
I don't think they're that crazy.
I'll give you a scenario.
All right, that's what I want.
I used to have a GTX 8800s. You can modify the GTX 8800 to turn them into a Quadro. That was amazing. It was amazing. It was great. It was wonderful. You can still the last card that you could do that on that I know of that I've seen it done really well was the it was the dual GPU one, and if it was the dual 780 because you had to it had to be the dual
Like
because you modified one of them and then you had a 780 on one side and then you had the Quadro on the other. But when you had the one Quadro, it would let you use both cores with the Quadro because the software was like, I have no idea what's going on.
690 could do that.
690, that was a dual GPU that could do that. 690 became two 680s, right? Or one 680 and one Quadro.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So that was amazing. So you want to talk about render times that took no time at all? Normally those cards are like $2,000-$3,000. It's really insane. And yeah, we need that. Like us YouTubers, we really need that because there's not like a consumer card that can render video really well. Gigabyte did a demo for us when we were in Taipei, and they had, the 36-core Xeon with, the software stuff on 4K, and then they turned on the Quadro K5000, which at the time was about a $5,000 video card, and everything was like butter smooth and amazing and great. But the 36-core Xeon was choking hardcore on dealing with that. It was really sort of insane. Well, it was 18-core, I guess, 36 hyper-threading, but still, it was really, and it was just like, wow, this hardware is unauthorized because you've modified it, because it's just a software thing. It's not, I mean, sometimes you get more RAM on the card, but for the kind of pizzly stuff that we're doing, we don't really need an insane amount of RAM, so it's fine.
I think that Windows 10 is going to push a lot of people to Linux. Now, developers, please start supporting Linux, because I really don't want to put Windows 10 on my main machine, and I feel like they're retroactively putting a lot of this nonsense from Windows 10 into Windows
That's exactly
8.
Right. So it's like, oh God,
every update,
spying on
what
me.
did they do this time?
Guess what? You've already got the telemetry reporting. It's already there in Windows 7 and Windows 8. You didn't know that? There's a whole bunch of people at home that I heard the brick hit the floor.
It down to Windows 8.1, 8, and 7, as far as I know. But I honestly, though, I think this is mainly to block ECS motherboards.
They don't like ECS.
Yeah, it's ECS.
I thought ECS was doing a good enough job of that on their own.
They're not authorized. They're not authorized.
Hydrogen fuel cells. So some smart people, I've forgotten who did this, the Intelligent Energy, right? So they're working with Apple, so says the article, to create a hydrogen fuel cell for a phone that will allow the phone to be powered for maybe a week without charging.
Powers it for a week?
Now, here's the weird thing about this. The current model, as it is here, you would have to have sort of a cartridge and then replace that. And then you got like a little, there's not like an outlet in your house that's going to pump hydrogen into this thing, right? I don't know. Does anybody have a hydrogen outlet in their house? That'd be kind of cool, right?
I
don't.
Oh, you
don't.
Well, you totally do. All you need is a glass of water and a couple paper clips.
And you got
just take some wire, stick it in a glass, plug it into an electrical outlet, and you're going to get hydrogen gas. So recharging is not going to be an issue.
See, that was my first thought looking at this. I was like, oh, okay, so to recharge your phone, you just pour a glass of water over it, and then that's all you need there. That's
better. That's better. It got tangled on. It got tangled on nothing while we were moving around so fast.
But no, water is actually the byproduct of a hydrogen cell-based energy source.
They apply a bit of heat here, as you can see from this diagram that shows you all kinds of interesting things, and then we get air and water vapor coming out the top. So this is going to be like a little humidifier.
I like it.
Yeah, you just hang out in your room and use it, and the entire time it's going to, if you're in a dry environment like Arizona, this is going to be amazing. Your phone can be a humidifier for maybe a couple feet around, just for your face, basically. It's I'm not sure how much water vapor and air are going to come out of this thing, but that's a bit weird. I always think that humidity and hardware shouldn't be together, but maybe they have a special system to make it okay. I don't know.
So what I'm imagining for this sort of thing is like your steampunk cell phone, right? You got your phone, imagine you're just your typical iPhone, and then on the back of it, you've got some like copper tubes and piping and that sort of thing. And then as you're holding it up to your face and talking and having a phone call with somebody, you've got your air and water vapor that comes poofing out of that copper piping, as that's your byproduct there.
And singes the side of your head.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, when it comes to battery life on cell phones, I think that is the number one thing, at least in my opinion, that like people are looking for. So what people are willing to sacrifice or give up for enhanced battery life, I think will be pretty impressive. And
changing out a cartridge, though, is a bit ridiculous. It does say that it's going to allow it to. Cartridge? You have to change out. Apple is never going to go for it because Apple won't. No. They have to be one perfect piece of something.
Yep. It's got to be a single solid.
Yeah.
With rounded corners.
And they'll sue everybody else who doesn't.
Patented rounded corners.
So Samsung is working together with MIT, and they've created something a little different. Instead of using the standard liquid, they're using a solid electrolyte. Is that right? No, it's what was? Yeah, that's right. Electrolyte.
Crystal structure of a super ionic conductor.
Anyway, it's going to last 20 to 30% longer. But the thing with this one is you can recharge it for forever, practically hundreds of thousands of recharges. So it's a step in the right direction. That's still, like you said, the biggest problem. And there's not been a clear solution yet. Other than a crank start phone, if you could just sit there and
get the turn style thing going on.
Like those flashlights you have that you just like, I'm going to walk through the woods.
This article, though, I was so excited about at first because it was like infinite lifetimes on your battery. And I was like, oh, well, that's perfect. Then you just need one battery.
Infinite lifetimes.
Charges, keeps your phone powered forever. Right? It's infinite.
And then you scroll down and your
But then you scroll down and what you realize is what they're talking about is increasing the lifespan of the battery. So it's still only going to give you maybe 20 to 30% more power, but if you're recharging it over and over and over and over again, they're saying it's going to last a bunch longer as compared to other batteries that, after you charge them 200 times or 300 times, start to not be able to hold a charge anymore.
This next article is also an MIT thing. I don't know what those guys are up to in Massachusetts, but what did I used to call it? Chassamusis. That's what I used to call it.
Chassamusis.
It's what they say. It's what they call it in the South. Up there, they don't know what it is. It's just a bunch of syllables. You slam them together and say it.
Depends how much.
Dropping a burp syllable into Chassamusis.
Depends how much bourbon you've had, I suppose.
Yeah. Bourbon.
Okay.
Whatever I said was wrong. So. 3D printer that can print 10 materials at the same time, built for around $7,000. Normal machines like this cost around $250,000. This is pretty ridiculous, and they're using an LED to, I guess, harden everything or cool it or whatever they're doing.
All right, so they're using 10 different materials to print with this printer. So based on having not read the article at all, I'm going to list to you the different materials that this printer can print with. So you got plastic, of course. Then you also have peanut butter.
Mm-hmm. Peanut butter, yeah, sure.
Macaroni and cheese.
Yes.
You have the like shakies, like the I think those Mojo potatoes. You can print with those. You can print shakies Mojo potatoes.
Okay, we'll go with it.
And the other 6 things are actually all sexual lubricants. So you guys all are pretty familiar with those.
Hey, at least he's not rolling around on the floor. Yet. All right, let's just move on to the next article. I think we've destroyed that one thoroughly enough. Why is there a chat thing up here? What is this? Ooh, this website has a chat. Why don't we have this?
I don't know.
Hey, let's see if it works.
We can say hi to some folks.
Oh, you got to
sign. Yeah, you got to sign in with Facebook.
I don't want to sign in. I just want to chat as an anonymous asshat. Tech for Gamers here says that AMD's thing is something.
What?
I don't know. So let's talk about the next AMD GPU, because this one is kind of here, and it was released with a okay, here it is. That's pretty much it. And the next version.
By the way, we're still working on the drivers. That's what it was released with.
Yeah, they're like, hey, there's this new thing, and it's going to be amazing in the drivers.
Check out this. This is I mean, it's like this is an amazing hardware platform. It's just the most amazing thing ever, and it really is. It's really an incredible piece of engineering. And then at the end, it was like, by the way, we don't have any software.
Maybe they'll have some software by the time they come out with this. So they're working on 16 nanometer stuff using the HBM2. Now, here's what's interesting to me about this. It's going to be the new Arctic Islands GPUs. What's interesting to me about this is that NVIDIA also wants to use the HBM2, and I don't think I opened that article up, but for their next generation stuff, they also want to be using this high bandwidth memory. It's the future. It's what everybody wants. And Hynix is making this stuff, and there's going to be only a little bit of this stuff in the first place. And AMD has probably got dibs on it because they've been using it for a while, and they've probably got the deals. So I think AMD is going to get most of it, but I'm just completely hypothetical right now, and whatever. AMD paid me to say this, and you guys can put that on 4chan. Or 8chan.
Me too, right? I get some money for this.
Do you want to be on 4chan?
AMD's awesome.
Yeah, you're on 4chan. Easy. It's easy.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, 4chan.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you installed Gentoo yet?
No, I'm working on it.
No? They're all on Arch now. So Gentoo's yesterday.
So what I heard about this, right? Okay. So AMD in the past, when they've come up big, and the last time they came up big was with their FX series processors. Not the most recent FX series processors, but the ones that were actually good in 2005, 2006.
Oh, yeah, back when they were...
Yeah, like an FX58, FX60, FX62.
Yeah.
Was when they basically placed a bet on the future of where the advancement of technology was going to go, and they won that bet. They won the bet back in 2005, 2006 because they bet not only on enhancing the number of cores in each processor, they also bet on actually integrating a memory controller into the processor as well. Now, I don't want to get too off track here, but what AMD has been investing in, AMD or ATI, depending on who you talk to, because this goes all the way back to when AMD actually acquired ATI, is they've been investing in this HBM, high bandwidth memory, and we've seen it with the Fury X.
Yeah, they're moving their chips over there.
And just announced today the Fury Nano. Although it's just a paper launch. Now,
do I have the Fury Nano? I'll bring up the Fury.
Yeah,
Nano
the cool thing about this stuff is that it's using it's new technology. It's a different type of memory. It's proven already to be very fast, and it's proven to be the direction that both AMD and NVIDIA are going in. NVIDIA's next generation GPUs are codenamed Pascal. They're going to be using HBM2 memory. AMD's next generation GPUs, as we're talking about here, are codenamed Arctic Islands. They're going to be using HBM2, version 2 of the HBM memory, and it's pretty exciting. But what we're hearing from this article, and the thing that might sort of sway the market and possibly have a pretty huge implication on what you can purchase as a consumer, is AMD's access to the HBM2 memory. Because they started on it so early, we're hearing that SK Hynix is giving AMD maybe a little bit of priority for this due to maybe the collaboration that they've had going on or something like that. Now, if that's the truth, then I mean, it certainly bodes very well for AMD. And when it comes to the competition between AMD and NVIDIA, and I hope all of you agree with me that the more level that competition is, the better it is for all of us as consumers, that AMD might have sort of a means to bounce back with this. If they have a much larger allocation of HBM2 memory, they're going to be able to launch a lot more cards and have a lot more cards available for launch whenever they do launch whatever the Arctic Islands GPUs are based on. And that for me is pretty exciting because I'm excited about sort of AMD kind of jumping back up and proving that they're once again a major competitor for
I've been
NVIDIA.
saying all along that the Fury cards were really made with DirectX 12, Mantle, and Vulkan in mind. They weren't made for DirectX 11. And with the just preliminary benchmarks we've been seeing, the AMD cards are doing really well. They're getting a huge jump or huge boost from the latest API. So I do think that they're moving their chips into the future. A lot of the people who are looking at it are seeing like, well, right now they look a little slower. But yeah, the big options for NVIDIA are going to be interesting when, with the next generation, their Pascal and that sort of thing. if there's a huge shortage and they need to get something to market, do you think they'll go for GDDR5 for the first batch of cards and then release like the Ultra versions or whatever, version 2s with HBM? I don't think they're going to do that, but some websites have speculated that could be the way to go. I guess we'll just have to sit back and watch. I think that would be, I don't think it'd be that damaging if their technology's up to par, but it's definitely going to hurt them a little bit if they were to go with GDDR5. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think so.
I will say, looking at the past, say, 5 years or so of video card launches, most of the time what I've seen from NVIDIA and AMD is either they will start at the lowest end of their stack and they'll work their way up from there, or they'll start at the top end of their stack and work their way down from there. And I think what we'll see from either side in 2016 is going to be very, very dependent on their actual access to HBM2 memory. And what we see these vendors coming out with might, it might be a good indication of what they actually have access to. Because we're not going to see a large launch of something that they can immediately sell to people. Yeah, that's my thought.
All right, ready to talk about some science, shall we? Move on. There's not much to talk about here in the science area, maybe just a little bit. But this company is a local company, and they are growing metal. Like on a very tiny molecular level, they are layering it up and growing it that way. And they're saying it's the most efficient way to make metal. And they got some pretty big backers. You guys can look at the article and see here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but is this something that's interesting to you guys? Would you guys like to know about how this works? Since they're local, we may be able to bother them enough that they say, okay, these weirdos want to come do something here. Okay, let's let them come and take a look. Maybe we can generate some enthusiasm for metal growers. I don't know. So is that something you guys want to see? Let me know.
It would be a lot of fun.
Growers? Yeah, I would love to go over there and check it out.
I saw this article and another article I saw that didn't make the cut was about some other company figured out how to use microwaves to superheat a ball of plasma, and they grow diamonds from methane gas. And it's like, ooh, let's combine this and the metal growing and put that in a 3D printer. Because if you could print in diamond and metal, yeah, that would be the thing. That would be an amazing 3D printer.
Well, now De Beers is going to be taking us all out after the episode, so goodbye, everyone.
That would be way better.
Going to be laughing nervously about that.
It'd be way better than the 3D printer from earlier that could only do like peanut butter and stuff.
Yeah, you guys are doing MIT. You guys, what are you guys doing? Peanut butter and plastic? How about diamonds and metal? Yeah. Then they do this with their little pellets for some reason.
I want to 3D print some diamonds. I'll be honest.
Let's talk about genome hacking. What the hell was that stutter all about? I don't know. Yeah, thanks to the CRISPR now, there are some new methods which you should be able to start doing a little bit of biology hacking at home, little biohackers. So we've talked about the CRISPR a few times, and I'm half out of it, so and we're running late, so maybe I shouldn't get too deep into this, but basically the CRISPR allows you to go into the DNA and sort of reprogram it. It's almost like the CRISPR allows you to literally like sit down like you're programming and mess around with the DNA. So very soon we'll have, do-it-yourself home kits, right? Where you can make whatever you want, make organic things that mess with DNA.
So here was the idea that I got when I read this article, which was like me as a small child, and then my parents walking in, right? And I'm there in my room as a child, and I'm building with Legos, right? Very, very pure.
If you're older, it would have been erector sets. Legos for me too. But
yeah, I'm sitting there like building something, and my parents walk in and like, oh, that's so, he's learning, he's building, he's being creative. This makes me think that in 5 or 10 years, I'm going to walk in on my child, and they're gonna have some
life form
abomination like fetus child there with like 5 arms, like help me or something. I'd be like, oh good Johnny,
it's the bedroom of Dr. Moreau.
Exactly. You've learned so much with your editing of the human genome.
I call it LOL.
Exactly. I don't know. It's a little scary. It's a little scary to me, I'll be honest. But I'm going to have some more bourbon. I'm sure they'll make it fine.
This is nice. It's not going to end well.
Just a taste.
It's delicious. We shouldn't have to drive. It's delicious.
It is.
This is, by the way, Wendell, this is Buffalo Trace here. Even though it says Trader Joe's on it, I did some Googling and found out that Buffalo Trace is bottling for Trader Joe's, and it's really good.
It's nothing. All right. Beautiful.
It's delicious. It's really tasty. Microscopic fish. I'm going to close that one because Stephen Hawking.
That was microscopic fish, but fuck that. Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Who cares about microscopic fish?
You know what?
I was kind of curious about the microscopic fish, I'll be honest.
Well, they can clean toxin in your bloodstream.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Probably keep me from having a hangover tomorrow morning.
Ooh, microscopic fish pills. So screw...
Cures your hangover.
Yeah, there it is.
See? Mm-hmm. Sell those in Las Vegas.
Cures your hangover and allows you to extract information from a black hole.
I think I've seen that movie. Was that a naughty movie? Some kind of Japanese fetish or something. Stephen Hawking may have finally solved the black hole information problem.
All right.
This is over my head. You know what? While I was in Switzerland, you guys are awesome, by the way. We were sitting down and we're talking, and like, you know, we went out and had a meetup with some of the guys, and we're hanging out and we're having a beer. One of the guys bought me a beer, and he sat down and it's like, dude, your show's awesome. Thank you very much for doing your show. You're stupid, but thank you so much for doing your show. It's really blessed. It was almost like a little bless your heart, and you know, keep on fighting the good fight. And you know what? It's even though you're stupid, it's good that you're getting people excited about science. And then when they actually go into the scientific field, they'll realize, God, that guy was a moron. But at least he got me excited in the first place. So I'm going to keep on being stupid.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I didn't go to school for science, but God, it's fun. It's fun and exciting to think that it's behind everything, right?
Science. Hawking.
Jesus.
Hawking radiation.
So yeah, I've been hawking radiation for quite a while now. So apparently, black holes, they suck up information, and is it gone? What happens to it? That breaks some kind of a law that some smarter person came up with.
You're right.
Wendell, you take
wait,
this away.
Wait.
Wendell actually has a degree in science.
Let me give a really brief, like, layman's introduction, and then I'm going to pass it over to Wendell for like the real stuff. All right, so there's a law in nature that you can't destroy information. That's the basic premise here.
Tell that to the politicians.
Yes, exactly. But black holes, according to everything we know about them, suck in information and do nothing with that information. It's destruction of information. So what Stephen Hawking discovered many years ago was that there's actually an aura around black holes that emanates what's known as Hawking radiation. There's information there. But what is now being furthered, I suppose, by this article and furthered by Stephen Hawking and his research, which Wendell will now give you a much better explanation.
I really want Immortal Technique. If you're watching this, I want you to make a rap song called...
I love Immortal Technique.
If he needs to make a rap song called Radiation Information.
That'd be awesome.
And make those two words rhyme, because they don't exactly rhyme, but you'll do it. I know you will.
So Wendell, what more do we know now about Hawking radiation than the preservation of information?
Well, there's really two options. And the first one is that the information never actually enters the black hole, that the information ends up being encoded holographically on the event horizon of the black hole. So basically, the black hole is compressing 3 dimensions down to 2. Eventually, it ends up being a particle stream, Hawking radiation, the whole 9 yards. But all of the information that would have been lost in the black hole is sort of encoded on the event horizon. And the information that would have been there is maybe encoded as quantum fluctuations, or is maybe encoded in, you know, whatever whatever's happening, whatever process is happening that allows you to go from matter outside the event horizon to something trapped in the event horizon to the eventual Hawking radiation. The other thing is that the other possibility is that black holes are a gateway to another universe, and so with that, if you could somehow survive getting past the event horizon, then maybe you would find yourself in another universe or something like that. And then in that case, because then it's an open system instead of a closed system, the whole information preservation thing is sort of becomes a different equation, because you're dealing with more than one universe. And it's like, oh, you've got more than one universe, and so things are preserved in that situation. But the former I mean, I don't know anything at all really, but the former seems more likely to me. That, you know, basically at the event horizon, as things are, you're basically deconstructing matter, turning it into a particle stream, and the information that was encoded in the matter is still there in the particle stream. It's just, it's like having a burned book. It's like the book goes into the event horizon. You've got the ashes out the other side. You could reconstruct what the book said, but it's gonna basically be impossible.
Okay, that makes sense. Perfect sense. Now, one thing I want to point out here. All right, so just theoretically, and we're going with the secondary explanation here, by the way.
The latter, okay.
Is that if you have, say, a galaxy that's sucked into a black hole via this new information that we now know of via Stephen Hawking and his genius, could you then deconstruct that information via Hawking radiation to reconstruct that galaxy and then build it into an award-winning MMO?
Yes.
Okay. Because I really think
galaxies.
that's what we should really be going for here. But I mean, honestly, that's fascinating. Black holes to me are amazing, fascinating, mysterious, and I will never get bored of learning more about them. So it's pretty cool.
This one's unstable.
That's all over the place. Oh God!
I'm just
unstable black hole.
It's okay, everyone. I was just scrolling the mouse fast.
No, okay.
It's okay. Everybody, calm down.
Sucked into the black hole and destroyed forever.
Everybody calm. Let's talk about some gaming stuff. So PAX is going on starting tomorrow. Thank you very much, Corsair, for sponsoring us. We could not have made this travel possible across the bridge without that fat check that they gave us to talk about their awesome products.
And Hawking radiation.
No, really, it's the Corsair did. I don't even. Did they sponsor us? Yeah, I think they did. I have to call Jenny now. Like, did Corsair sponsor us? Because I just said a bunch of good things about them. Do I have to?
They make fantastic. Wait, here, there's a product over here. There's product placement.
Taco Bell.
Here's some product placement.
Yeah.
There you go. Corsair.
How do you like that, Linus?
This is an H100 GTX.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you guys could buy it and put it in your computer. It'll be 100%.
100% more GTXer.
I just. So yeah, I'm also going to check this out on Sunday, the Seattle Indies Expo. One of the big complaints that I had about PAX was that it was becoming a bit too E3 in the sense that there still is an indie section, but I feel like every year it's not even that the indie section is getting smaller, it's just that the AAA section is getting bigger and bigger.
It's like a sea anemone. It sort of consumes everything that's around it.
Yeah, and then you got to like wade through the league cosplayers and all that stuff. You guys are great. You guys can have your own little section and propose to each other on stage and do whatever you want. I don't care. It's fine. Just there's a lot of them to move around. I feel like the Seattle Indies Expo might be a bit more my speed, so I'm going to go over and check that out on Sunday as well. Good old games. Check this out. We have some Bethesda and therefore id Software titles, and also some old Interplay titles like the Fallout Classics, that's Fallout 1, 2, and also the Tactics, and then we've got the Retro id bundle, I almost said ID. And then we've got the Elder Scrolls games. Now
that would include Doom, right?
Mm-hmm, those are Doom 1, 2, Final Doom, and Quake as well. No Quake 2 yet. Ooh. Not just yet. And then we also have these games here, Morrowind, Redguard, and Battlespire. And these two games are a bit different. They're like adventure games that Redguard I have a bit of fun with, but you guys can go back and check those out now. They're on good old games. And one thing that I want to say about this, and I'm going to give me a soapbox for just one more minute, and then we're going to be done here. Bethesda, it is awesome that you guys are finally putting something on good old games. Thank you very much for doing that. I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and put your brand new titles. Put Skyrim, put whatever your Fallout 4. Put it on good old games. I know you guys love your DRM, and I know you guys like to know who's buying your game, and I know you're worried about piracy. The Witcher 3 sold over 6 million copies already. I know you guys have sold 20 gazillion million, but I mean, this game does not have as much marketing, and they don't have as many marketing dollars as you guys do. It's not as you know. I guess it's not as easy to play on some hardware. It's a bit beefier of a game, but it's still doing that well. And you know, Good Old Games is the primary launch platform for it because they kind of work together. But if they can sell 6 million and not worry about DRM, I think the DRM is something you guys can not worry about as well and put your games on Good Old Games. Anyway, that's my rant coming down off that right now. But support it, Bethesda. Thank you very much for doing it with the older games. Last thing I want to mention is Divinity 2 has been funded on Kickstarter. If you guys like Divinity, but just me saying, hey, this is a good RPG.
Nice.
Yeah. Divinity Original Sin 2.
Look, they have $300,000 extra dollars. What are they going to do with that extra money?
Yeah.
Leave your
sandwiches.
Post a comment in the comment section down below. Let Logan know what Bethesda should do with that extra.
Well, this is not Bethesda. This is a different company.
Oh wait, no. This is who is this?
Larian
Studios
yeah.
LLC. They have $300,000 to spend on whatever you guys suggest in the comment section.
Hold on a second. There's going to be.
I mean, the comment section on TechSyndicate.com.
Yeah, I don't read the YouTube comments. There's stretch goals
we don't
here,
read
I'm sure.
YouTube comments. They're stupid.
All right,
you
everybody.
post comments on TechSyndicate.com.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, Wendell, I think I'm going to let Paul do the closing salutations. What do you think? Think we can let that fly?
I think that's a good idea.
That could work.
All right, Paul.
All right, Paul, take it away. Wait, that's me. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Tech. We really appreciate it. Of course, you should subscribe to Tech Syndicate for all of the stuff that they do. It's fantastic.
And you should subscribe to Paul here.
If you want to subscribe to me, you can. That's totally optional.
Paul's Hardware.
My YouTube channel is called Paul's Hardware. Usually, I'm not drunk.
It's not optional. It's mandatory.
It's optional. I don't want.
No.
I don't want to force anyone. I don't want to force anyone.
I've been manufacturing underpants made out of wasps that I stole from Germany and Switzerland while we were there. They're everywhere. So I stole a bunch of wasps and brought them back illegally in my suitcase. And I've made underpants out of these wasps. I'll find you guys. If you don't subscribe to him, and you guys are going to wake up in the middle of the night wondering what's hurting your stuff, it'll be those wasps. And you wake up and you'll realize that you're wearing wasp underpants.
There's nothing I can do about that. This is entirely up to Logan. But if you do want to subscribe to me, you totally can. If you're not into that, you can subscribe to Logan and all of the Logan and other Tech Syndicate subsidiary channels, which includes Tech Syndicate as well as Tech Hardware, as well as Tech Linux, as well as Tech Shenanigans. And what are the other ones? I don't. There's so many of them. Just type Tech into YouTube and you can subscribe to them. But thank you guys for watching this episode. And if you happen to be at PAX Prime, come over and say hello, because we're going to be there. We're going to say hi to folks. We're going to hang out. It's going to be fantastic.
Yep.
That's all.